It's called The Hatpin, and it's a musical about one of Sydney's most notorious crimes, about how in the backyard of a Sydney home there once lay a shocking secret. Under the lawn was a graveyard for murdered babies. They were victims of the 19th century practice known as baby farming. The baby farmers were carers paid to look after the children of single mothers. Outrage over neglect and abuse led to an end to the practice. Now the story of one Sydney mother and the search for her child has become an unlikely subject for a new musical drama. David Spicer reports.
Sobbing. We've all been sobbing, you know, on a daily basis.
John Macon was born in Wollongong. He was my great-great-uncle. And he married Sarah Jane Sutcliffe, and he went on to become famous in Australian history.
I was told to come to advertise in the column. I don't want him adopted out, sir. Just temporary care. Horace Murray. Stop. Son of Amber. Stop. In search of a kindly mother to protect him for a fee.
The Hatpin is a murder mystery about a young mother and her battle against one of Australia's most reviled criminals. John Macon was sentenced to death by hanging at Darlinghurst Prison in 1893. In The Hatpin, he's played by Peter Cousins.
And inform her that my wife and our children are moving to Hurstville.
And you should be caring for the mothers as well, all of you.
Performers in musical theatre are used to singing about stories written on the other side of the world. The Hatpin is inspired by events which took place just over a kilometre from the Seymour Centre where it's being staged. The House of Horrors was in Burren Street, Macdonaldtown. The scandal began when the state closed down orphanages in the 1880s, forcing many mothers to hand their children to what were called baby farmers.
Baby farming was when you would take into your home children for a fee. It would be £3 to £5, and you would take them in to care for them on a weekly payment or adopt them as so-called, but without legal adoption papers.
Carol Herban has researched her family's dubious history for a book called From Burren Street to the Gallows. She says some carers scrimped on food to save money.
Most common one, I think, was the neglect and death with the children. They didn't mean as great deal to the people as they would of their own children. That was sort of probably a money-making venture, I think.
Well, no, Charles is there from the top, and he says, so now the carriage is waiting, so the whole thing should have a lot more immediacy, I think.
The story has fascinated the writer of The Hatpin, James Miller, since his mother bought him a copy of the Australian Murder Almanac. Until Stateline began this story, he'd never plucked up the courage to visit the scene of the crime.
So what is it about this crime that's really fascinated you?
Other than the way it actually changed criminal law in the country, the way you could try a case for murder fascinated me, but more so the human story, the story of a mother, a single mother who is completely alone, and the way her faith in a family was manipulated and twisted. There's so much fodder for theatre within it, but it's more, my interest is with the plight of the mother and how she got through that time alone in a city that was so hard to live in.
Well, here we are. This is where it happened.
Yes.
Is it a bit spooky?
For me, it does. Of course, it's a bit spooky, but for me, it's exciting. It's like meeting a famous person. I've spent 3 years writing about this house.
So, what is the significance of the ground we're on top of?
The ground we're standing on top of right now is the yard of the Macon home, where they buried 7 children. And this was where the first child was dug up by a drainer who was digging a trench through here because of the water tank on the rail line that had flooded the yard.
After the discovery of the babies in Macdonaldtown, police started digging in the backyards of other homes that the Macons had lived in. More and more babies were uncovered.
But why would people want to come and see a musical about such a macabre theme?
Well, the musical is, although it does deal with the death of a child, the musical is about a living mother and a woman that went through a really rough time and made it out the other side. And it's a story of hope, essentially, which is when we hit rock bottom, how do we move back out?
Let us sit, little man, let us sit. And let us think, little man, let us think.
She's still hearing the echoes of those women in her head, but what they're singing is that choice. Do you?
Yes, yeah. No,
James Miller is 28 and the composer Peter Rutherford just 25. For them to attract investors and big-name stars to their new Australian musical is an extraordinary achievement. Music theatre superstar Carolyn O'Connor gave up more lucrative opportunities in London to appear in this musical.
I've been around for a long time, and I mean a long time, I'm really tired. No, but when you see that kind of talent at that age, at that stage, I mean, I think that I know, after working for so many years, when something's a bit special. And I really, they're tearing up now, but I really believe that they're both extraordinarily gifted boys. And this is just the beginning for them.
Begging your pardon.
Oh, no worries, love.
Caroline O'Connor plays the mentor to the young mother at the centre of the musical. She's also a mentor for the writers. Peter Rutherford explained how from a small kernel of an idea, he composes a song.
That this piece, just a small motive that comes back throughout the entire show, is set. And the main protagonist sings, "Holding you, Horace, holding my boy." And it was a very simple thing that took a while to get, but it was something that became a foundation of the show, that this constant longing, and that kind of extended into some more phrases that kind of kept coming out of nowhere and appear and recur throughout the show, and they became a linking theme about this connection with a child.
Let the children come to me, I said.
The great mystery of the musical is whether Amber Murray's baby met the same fate as the others and what methods the Makins used to kill the babies. Was it starvation or was it a hatpin?
You try to get into that era, that time, what it must have felt like to be that young girl. It must have been humiliating to be in that situation anyway, but for that to be the end of the story, the outcome, which I shan't give away, you know, it's just dire.
The streets of Sydney remained a twisted little town until the authorities put an end to baby farming, and the tragedy of the little babies pushed them to introduce the state's first child protection laws.
Nothing like a drama. David Spicer reporting.